Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. For today's video, we're going to be taking a look at 10 different altcoins that are all in different market structure that are going to be telling us the direction that Bitcoin is going to be headed. In my last video, I talked about why I think that Bitcoin could actually be at a topping point before we start a multi-month correction back down. We've looked like we've already finished wave 5, and if that's the case, how do other altcoins look? These are going to be some of the best performing altcoins that have taken off in the biggest way since the beginning of this new bull cycle, and we're going to be mapping out what their prices are telling us so that we can stay best ahead, know when the top is, and know when to look to compound these gains on the correction ahead. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Now guys, in my last video, what we talked about was the potential that Bitcoin could be at a major topping point. I talked about why I personally see this as being 5 waves up, and why I was thinking that this move in here is corrective before we ultimately see a deeper move back down to this 618 Fibonacci. 618 Fibonacci is the golden ratio. It's the average of the entire Fibonacci sequence, and so with that, that's generally the area that we're going to want to target when it comes to compounding those gains. Now, we did talk about the idea that maybe this wave 5 gets overextended and we go to $30,000, but in my opinion, that's not necessarily what I'm betting on, and I've already looked to take a lot of profits in my personal portfolio. So once again, if you want to know how I'm taking profits, links are in the description to go ahead and sign up inside of my group on my website. But nonetheless, guys, what we're looking at here is this very real potential that a deeper correction could be following us. And if that's the case, what are the altcoins looking like? Are a lot of these altcoins pretty much in the same boat where they look like they've already finished 5 waves up? Or do they look like they still need one more leg to go alongside with Bitcoin? Because in my opinion, that is where we're going to be able to dictate the direction that Bitcoin is heading. If altcoins already look topped, generally speaking, Bitcoin is going to be topped as well. And so inside of the shorter time frames with Bitcoin, we have actually seen a bounce. We are currently consolidating above the range highs, but in my opinion, I'm not personally getting bullish by that. Even if we see further bouncing and we rally all the way upwards of maybe even the range highs at 25K, to me, this still is going to be corrective structure, and that's the way that I'm watching it. And so my last video didn't get nearly the same amount of views because whenever I talk about anything being bearish, everybody just runs away and hides. I don't know why that is, but it's important that we stay ahead of the market. And so for today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys 10 altcoins that are all in different parts of their structure, all in their different Elliott wave sequences, and we're going to be talking about how they stack up with Bitcoin, analyzing, is Bitcoin topped? Are altcoins topped, or are we still going to see one more impulse? And the first one on today's list today is going to be Fetch AI. Now, Fetch AI has had one of the most bullish sequences leading into this early part of the bull cycle. When we look at Fetch AI, we see very clear Elliott waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a massive wave 5 blow off top. Now, if you guys look at this chart, you're going to notice that this thing still looks very bullish. This thing still looks like it could easily just continue to break out. And so this is why I'm talking about this and making it in these videos today, is because a lot of people are going to end up buying the top of this wave B before a deeper correction ensues. Because if we're looking at this, we've already finished 5 waves up. If you're buying right now, you're an idiot. And I don't mean to say that in a rude way. It's just the truth. I say that to really speak to your guys' souls here, because I've done this a million times. I've done this my personal investments 100 times in crypto. This is my 7th year. I've seen these setups play out in these same ways, and oftentimes people end up waiting until the top of a blow off top before they start to buy. And really, I should say, inside of the corrective move, they end up buying right before a massive correction ensues. After every wave 5 impulse, you're going to see a corrective structure, an A, a B, and then we're going to expect to see a wave C decline. And inside of the wave C, the area that you would target to be looking for re-entry is about the 618. And so this 618 is oftentimes lining up inside of the wave 4 consolidation, leading into that final top. And that's the case here with Fetch. We can see that the 618 is going to be taking us all the way back down to the bottom of this wave 4, which from where we're at today, we're looking at about a 45% drop. So I say this, guys, because this is a huge opportunity as we're sitting so far up here at the range highs. This is a huge opportunity to be looking to compound gains. This thing did 10x off of the lows. It was one of the only altcoins that did 10x. If we look at our entirety of the structure, this thing went all the way back up to, fairly close to those prior all-time highs. It was one of the better performing altcoins because of the AI narrative. The AI narrative got really hyped, and that's why I'm making this one number 1 on today's list, is because it has some of the cleaner Elliott waves wave that we can follow. Very clear 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And in my opinion, we're going to get the ending of wave B very soon, even if it peaks up here a little bit higher. And that's going to lead us to a massive drop on the way back down. And with this one, you know, inside of wave Bs, they can get kind of volatile nonetheless, I guess is the best way to explain it. Sometimes you can actually see this wave B break above the range high and the top of wave 5, and it still leads into a wave C decline. If that's the case, a lot of people are going to end up buying that top thinking, well, it just broke out, new all-time highs, we're going to go for another one of these type of moves, only they end up buying the exact top before that wave C decline starts. In my opinion, we'll most likely not break out of the range highs, but you know, if Bitcoin ends up rallying all the way back up to 25K and it does something really impulsive, we could actually see that end up playing out. It really just depends. But either way, the way I'm looking at this is a complacency wave. And if we look over here at the Wall Street cheat sheet, this will kind of give you guys an idea of what I'm talking about. We can see that this is pretty much the wave structure. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. This is blow off top. After the blow off top, we start our first bearish consolidation, and the complacency wave is the first lower high in the new bear trend, right? So that is exactly where we're at right now. It's the same as an A, B, C back down. That's where we're at inside of Fetch. And so a lot of these altcoins are looking like they're in corrective sequences. If that's the case, probably Bitcoin is topped as well. Generally, with Bitcoin, you're going to see a lot of these altcoins at the early part of the cycle, the ones that outperformed, they're going to start correcting a little bit quicker. They're going to start correcting a little bit quicker, and they're also going to show a little bit better Elliott wave symmetry. Even though Bitcoin is inside of a wave 5 as well, and it looks like it could be topped, Bitcoin does look like it could, you know, break out and make subwaves of wave 5. That's something we talked about. But when we're looking at some of the better performing altcoins, they already look topped. They look like they're in very clear ABC type territory, and it's looking like we've got a pretty big drop ahead of us. And so if this is the case for Fetch, you know, what's to say it's not the case for a lot of these other performing altcoins that have done, you know, massively outperforming the rest of the market. If we look over here with Phantom, it's in a pretty similar boat. Although I will say with Phantom, it does technically look like it could be inside of a wave 4 correction before one more final impulse. And if that's the case, you know, ultimately Bitcoin would have to break out of the range highs and do what I was talking about in my last video. But when I personally look at this, in my opinion, it looks like we've already finished that impulse. It looks like we finished wave 1, looks like we finished wave 3, wave 4, and this most recently was our wave 5. Although there is the potential where this is wave 3, this is wave 4. Draw this back down again. There is a potential where we could be at the point of getting one more final wave 5. And if that's the case, then that would mean that we're in subwaves. This would be a wave 1 of 5. We'd get wave 3 of 5, and then we'd get wave 5 of 5 like that. To me, it doesn't look like that because when we look at Fetch, this one looks very obviously topped, for me at least. And so if that's the case, if some of the other altcoins look a little bit more cleaner and showing like they've already topped, in my opinion, that gives us an inclination at least that this is most likely topped as well. So the way I'm drawing this is that this has already finished a wave 5 and we're working on a deeper correction back down. This will be an A, B, C, like that. Even if we see a short-term bounce in here, it won't change the fact that we're still inside of a wave C. And so if that's the case, where the heck do you target for buying back in? Because I know a lot of people bought down here. I was making YouTube videos talking about Phantom, why I thought that this one was going to take off, and it took off in a bigger way than I was initially expecting. And so if you guys ended up following any of those videos, if you just simply bought Phantom in general, you know, now that it's up quite a bit, we're going to be expecting a deeper move back down to this 618, which from where we're at today, you know, looking like a 25% drop approximately. That's a big discount to be able to look to compound those gains. And so with Phantom, you know, this one could go a little lower. I wouldn't be surprised to see this one go lower towards the 786, retest some of these prior levels down in here. But regardless, a lot of that has to do with the fact how impulsive it was on the way up. Many of these altcoins that got super overextended, sometimes they're going to make deeper corrections and could actually come all the way down to the 786. The higher you go, the harder you fall, so to speak, and that's going to be the case with altcoins as well. And I would say that Phantom is pretty much in that same boat. It made one of the bigger breakouts on the way back up. So in theory, it could make a deeper correction back down. But nonetheless, guys, I would say anywhere from this 618 is a good area to be targeting to buy. That's where I'm going to be looking for re-entry. Not so much into Phantom, but you know, I've got a lot of different altcoins that I'm looking to compound those gains into. And with that being said, if you guys do want to see how I'm buying this dip, what altcoins I'm buying, links are in the description to go ahead and follow in my group. But we can see that there's a corrective move ahead. In my opinion, altcoins look way more corrective than Bitcoin does. And that's what's telling me that Bitcoin is most likely going to end up correcting as well. Another one on this list is going to be actually Optimism. Optimism has impulsed very, very hard. It's made one of the better performing altcoins over the course of the last couple months. And what I see inside of this is, once again, clear Elliott waves. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. And inside of this one, you know, what we're talking about with Fetch, wrong one. What we're talking about Fetch is how sometimes these wave Bs can actually break above the range high at wave 5. And what we actually saw with Optimism was exactly that. Inside of this wave B, we technically broke out of the range highs at wave 5, and it's looking like we're still going to end up getting that C leg back down. And that's why I say that oftentimes once we're at this complacency wave, where we're making our first lower high, even though this thing broke out of the top of wave 5, it's just more reason why so many people end up buying the tops over here. They think it's ready for another breakout. They feel like they got left behind because of how much it's taken off. And that's always what we end up seeing right before a deeper correction back down, because that's literally what we're going to be expecting to see from here. We're going to expect to see a move back down to this 618, which if we look down in here, this is pretty much just us retesting prior resistance levels as support. It could go a little bit lower. I would say anywhere from the 618 to the 786. This being a wave 1, oftentimes they can correct a little bit deeper than what we would see in other waves. And with this being the very first impulse of the new cycle, we can definitely see altcoins peak down here and get closer towards the 786. But for me, I'm buying the golden ratio. I don't care if it goes a little bit lower, because, you know, we're selling up here at the range highs. It doesn't necessarily matter if we're talking about that much of a drop. I mean, from where we're at today, all the way down to this 618, you're looking at about a 40% drop. So it does matter when we're sitting at the range highs, but when we're sitting at the 618 to the 786, it's still a 26% move, but it doesn't matter that much for me, at least, where I'm much more focused on the big picture, because we know that this entire move off the lows is just a wave 1. Wave 1, wave 2, and we're going to be seeing a massive wave 3 following after. And so I'm not going to be pinching pennies down here trying to nail the exact bottom. I'm targeting the 618. These are support and resistance flips off of prior resistance levels. Once we actually hit those ranges, in my opinion, we're going to see a lot of buy support. The big thing here is the fact that all of these look corrective. They look like we're literally at a point where we're going to see a deeper wave C decline on the way back down. So you're much better off looking to take profits in this range than you are trying to buy the top, thinking that we're going to go to this massive subwave, wave 5 like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 type of thing. It is possible, but for me, I'm not betting on that. It really is riding on Bitcoin just massively breaking out from here. It is a possibility, but what we've already seen off the lows is pretty clear Elliott wave structure, which tells me, in my opinion, you're better off taking some profits, even if it's not the whole position. I'm still holding all of my positions. I've only taken small amounts of profit. By small, I mean about 25 to 50% profit. And so I'm looking to use that profit and compound on the way back down, because that's how you're going to be able to make a lot of money over the course of an entire cycle. You don't want to get too focused in on nailing the exact top and getting too greedy, because that literally is where you limit your potential to be able to compound on the dip. If you don't take any profits up here, you're not going to have anything to buy the dip on once we actually get a wave C. And we can see that across the board on all of these altcoins. If we look down in here on AVAX, this is going to be taking us into a little bit different territory, where with AVAX, we actually have a prior range to be looking at. With AVAX, if you guys notice, where we impulse straight to and where we ended up topping is right here at the 618. This 618 region is a very important level for both taking profits on as well as buying the dip. What you guys have seen me talking about is buying the dip on the 618, buying the dip on the 618, buying the dip on the 618, but as well as buying the dip, you can look to take profit on this 618 region, which if we look down in here, there's a big reason why I believe the AVAX topped at this level. It's because we got the top of our wave 5 and it took us straight to this 618 region. And now we're starting a deeper correction back down. We've already finished wave A, we've already finished wave B, and in my opinion, we're working on wave C, which is probably going to take us down here to about $15.50. And if you guys notice, if we move our drawing tools up here, the 618 region is going to be right here on top of prior resistance levels that are now going to be acting as support. All we're doing across the board on a lot of these altcoins is we're going to be coming back down and we're going to be flipping this prior resistance level, right? Because keep in mind, this was support for a long time. The FTX collapse happened, we rejected, this turned into resistance, and then this was a deviation from that entire consolidation. But once we started to break out into the new cycle, we never really got a confirmed flip above that level. I wouldn't consider this consolidation a true retest because this was us just breaking out into the first impulse. This ABC correction back down is where we're going to be fully cementing ourselves as a support and resistance flip off of this region. We can see that this was resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, support here, 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 and technically it was support in here, but this is going to be the first time that we're technically bouncing off of this as a confirmed support and resistance flip. This is where we get confirmation of the bull trend. So if you're looking at a place on where to buy the support and resistance flip, buy the 618 of the ABC correction, because that's where you're going to see a lot of buy support come in. In my opinion, once we tag this region, we might consolidate here, but like this. But in my opinion, we'll probably do something along the lines of this, where it's a quick impulse off of those lows. If you weren't willing to buy and have buy order set, you just miss out entirely. And this is going to be one of those better performing altcoins over the course of that cycle. One of the big drivers for this impulse over here in wave 5 was the fact that they partnered with Amazon. Amazon's getting ready to release their own set of NFTs. So generally what we would assume is that AVAX is going to be a part of that. And so all of this type of narrative is what fuels bull runs. And the only way that you get in early to those is by understanding how to obey different levels. We know that the 618 level is going to be taking us right into confluence between this prior resistance level that's now going to be acting as support. So these are support and resistance flips, and it's happening right onto a major support level that, in my opinion, will get bought up. And so you need to really focus in on this stuff if you plan to be looking to make any sort of profit over the course of the cycle, because you need to know when to get in, when to get out of that market. And if we look over here, at Polkadot, it's kind of in a similar position where it topped right here at this 618. It actually peaked a little bit above, but it's in the same sort of situation. And if we come down in here, we can actually see that it did finish, 5 waves up, perfectly tagging that 618. And now, in my opinion, where we're at is in a little bit different territory than what AVAX was showing us. And where I think that we're at is probably inside of a wave A before we see a wave B, and then that takes us into a wave C back down, which if I pull up my Fibonacci, we'll actually look at where the 618 is going to be here. We're going to be looking at a 618 retest about $5.64. So we don't really have quite the same structure over here where it's a very clear level that we're going to be retesting as support. DOT pretty much just downtrended all the way through, made lower lows and lower highs. But nonetheless, this is still a one-wave impulse, and it'll still bottom relatively at the same point. I wouldn't be surprised if this did come back down to the 786, but nonetheless, where I would personally be looking to buy is pretty much the 618, because this itself is just a one-wave impulse. This will be a wave 2 decline, and then we're going to be expecting to see a big picture wave 3 coming after that point. And so these wave 3s, if we're looking at a 618 retest, and we run all the way up here, you're looking at a double your money opportunity. And so this is a high cap crypto. It could go higher, but nonetheless, this is the early part of our cycle where we're just in the very early stages of building a foundation. And so in my opinion, where I think the best place to target is the 618, because that's the golden ratio. It's generally where you're going to see markets top and bottom in the exact same way that we saw DOT and AVAX. It's in the same region that we saw DOT and AVAX actually top at this 618. So that's the way that we would be looking to target on buying and reaccumulating on the way back down. But all of these are showing corrective wave structure. It's as simple as that. In my opinion, all of these have already topped, and they're showing like we're going to be getting a deeper decline on the way back down. And if we come over here and look at Matic, Matic was one of the very best performing altcoins of the last cycle. It held very good support throughout the bear market. It didn't decline nearly at the same rate that many of the other altcoins did. And then once we bottomed, it started to impulse and actually make bigger impulses on the way up than many of the other altcoins. And so this is once again an outlier. And what we see here, we see pretty clear Elliott wave structure showing us that we've already finished 5 waves up. And inside of 5 waves up, what you're going to see on the way back down is some type of corrective move. In my opinion, it'll be something like this. A, B, and then C. We'll probably do something all the way back down to this level, because where we're targeting here is the 618. And this takes us all the way back from the range lows at the bottom of the bear market, which the 618 is going to be this entire consolidation range, pretty much the most important level that we've held on this entire chart. And so I am expecting something along the lines of this. Even if this A wave takes us all the way back down to $1.88, I should say, regardless, we're going to expect to see some type of corrective structure. And so that's why I say that we're looking at 1 to 2 months. This is showing us at having the bottom of wave C somewhere around mid to the end of April. And so that's going to be the across the board on a lot of these altcoins. Bitcoin would be in the same boat. If what we're looking at here with Bitcoin, this itself could be some type of ABC like this. I don't know exactly how it's going to look because it's not created yet, but with Bitcoin, even with us impulsing upwards of this range high, if we go up higher, it doesn't really change the market structure on all of these other it doesn't really change the market structure on all these other altcoins. They've already topped. Even if we see a bounce, it's just going to be a wave B, and we're still going to see deeper corrections on the way back down. And with this one being one of the outliers across the board on this entire cycle, it's been leading the market up to this point. If this one shows that we've already topped at a wave 5, you don't want to be buying right now. You don't want to be focused too much on buying the top when we would expect to see a deeper correction back down off of pretty obvious levels. I mean, we've held support here for a long time. If we come back down to this level, you already know that there's going to be a lot of money looking to enter back into the market at that same level. And there's many altcoins that are showing this exact same setup. Another one is actually Binance Coin. Now, Binance Coin is a little bit different, but it looks almost the same as Matic, where this one already finished 5 waves up. And most recently, where Matic actually broke out and made another high like this, that was Matic finishing its wave 5, whereas Binance Coin, its most recent impulse was actually a little bit ahead of the other one. This one is actually a wave 1 of 3. And we're working on ABC back down. So it's going to come back down to the same level as what Matic looked like. They look very similar to each other. They follow each other for whatever reason. But with this one's actually a little bit ahead. Binance Coin is. This one is inside of a wave 1 of 3. And then we're going to be expecting to see something like this on the way back up. But it's still going to come back down to this same level back right over here. And if we pull up a Fibonacci, even though it's a little bit ahead, it's still going to be coming back down to the 618, which is going to be coinciding right at this exact same level as where Matic is expected to come back down. The only difference is Matic finished a wave 1, whereas Binance Coin finished a wave 1, and now we finished a wave 1 of 3. So we're inside of a sub-wave count, right? And so inside of this move, it's still telling us that we're in a complacency wave. We're going to see a bigger ABC correction back down. There's not one of these altcoins really looks that bullish in my opinion. So if all of these are looking bearish, like we're going to see a corrective move, I really don't think that we should be ignoring the fact that Bitcoin itself has already finished 5 waves up, right? It's already finished 5 waves up all the way up here. So if that's the case, you don't want to be someone that's buying the top, even if we go all the way back up to the range highs, because all of these other altcoins are looking like they've already topped. If that's the case, Bitcoin is already going to be at a topping point. This is a corrective structure, and you don't want to necessarily bank on the fact that Bitcoin's just going to break out and go to 30K. I see a lot of people talking about that, but for me personally, the market structure itself doesn't necessarily support that conclusion. Another one on today's list is going to be Curve now. Curve is in a similar situation, 5 waves up, and we're working on a deeper correction back down. Even if we come back down here and bounce, it's just going to be a big picture A, B, and a C. But this one's kind of in a similar situation as AVAX, where we're most likely just going to be coming back down and retesting this entire range, except instead of it acting as resistance like it did here, it's going to act as support and be a foundation before we get our next impulse. All of these look exactly the same. So anyways, guys, this is pretty much the video I had for you. I just wanted to map out why I believe that the Bitcoin market is topped, why I believe many altcoins have already topped, why I believe that we're going to expect to see a multi-month correction ensue, and how we can basically just be ahead of the game on that. If you're in profit on anything, you've seen something break out in a big way, it's not a bad idea to take at least some profit. Keep in mind, guys, that I never sell 100% of the position unless I tell everybody that in my Discord. I generally like to keep at least small amounts of it that I can hold as a moon bag, right? With certain cryptos like Curve, I bought this one all the way back down here at the bottom of wave 2, and it broke out in a big way. So I took some profit, but I didn't sell all my position. I sold like half of the position. So with that being said, I'm using that other half to buy the dip on the way back down. And that's what we should be focusing in on doing. You don't want to try and get too greedy and nail the exact top, because chances are you'll never nail the exact top. All we can really do is capture the majority of the move and then take that profit that we used and simply buy it on the way back down and compound that position, because we know that these markets are going to take off in a big way. If we're looking and zooming out right here, all of these are just in one waves. We just finished wave 1, we're working on wave 2, we still have wave 3, and then we still have wave 5 to go. And if this thing ends up hitting, similarly to the 618 on the entire market scale, we'd be looking at a move to $3.60 all the way up here to the 618 at $4.80, which from where we're at today, let's just go from the 618. From the 618, you'd be looking at 2x, 2.5x to 3.5x, all the way up here to 4.5x. You'd be seeing huge gains throughout this entire year. This year is going to be the opportunity to compound those gains. Simple as that. 2024 to 2025 is where we're going to be expecting to see the massive parabolic rallies where this thing breaks out into new all-time highs and just goes absolutely insane. So by being prepared, by compounding those gains at the early part of this cycle, that is where we're going to be able to make the majority of that money over the course of an entire bull run. 2023 is going to be the build-up phase. Higher highs and higher lows. During these highs, you want to take some profit. During the lows, the higher lows, you want to be looking to compound those gains because we know these things are going to be destined to go into price discovery at some point, or at least the ones that have real adoption. All of these that I've shared with you have so far seen a lot of adoption. They've outperformed the rest of the market. They've seen new different partnerships happen. And so those are going to be the ones that you generally want to stick to. I think that everything in the market is telling me that the market is topped. Everything to me is telling me that you need to be looking to take some profits if you haven't and look to buy the dip on the way back down. That's what I'm doing personally. I want to keep you guys in the wake of things. You know, nobody watches my bearish videos, but at the end of the day, I can't expect everybody to. Most people only care about the bullish upside, and when you tell them anything that contradicts what they believe is going to happen, they get angry, they get upset because they're emotionally invested. My goal on this channel is to keep you guys out of your emotions and focused in on the truth that is logic. And what the logic is telling me is that we've topped, we're starting a deeper correction back down, and with that being said, this is how you're going to be able to compound those gains, where to buy those dips, and just stay ahead of the market. Simple as that. If you guys found value in this and you guys want to follow what I'm trading, what I'm taking profits on, what I'm looking to compound on the way back down, links are in the description to go ahead and sign up on my website. You guys can sign up. It's a one-time fee, lifetime membership. If you want to know how I'm trading the market, you want to know how to stay ahead of the game, that's the only way to really do it because I don't give those details out here on YouTube. I simply just give you guys a rough outline, and really if you're trying to follow a rough outline, you can't expect to be profitable, and I don't expect you guys to follow my rough outline. Simple as this. I'm just telling you guys the way that I think the market's going, and if you want to know the specifics and exact details, you got to follow my Discord. Links are in the description. I appreciate you guys so much, and I look forward to seeing you guys make this profit over the next year. I want to keep you guys safe so that we can compound those gains and find financial future in 2024 and 2025. Thank you guys so much, and with that being said, I'll catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.